Okay, hello everybody. Today's date is December 3rd, Tuesday, 2024. My name is Leslie Williams. I am at the 134th New HA area. Now, if you're a first-time viewer, in fact, probably for most of my viewers, they don't understand what HA means. It's just a code I use for certain locations that I go to in order to be by myself. And because a lot of times I'm also intentionally immobilized to stay at the spots that I go to that I refer to as HA areas. Now, if you don't know anything about anything that I've been enduring, including what I'm going to be exposing in this particular video series, you might think to yourself, this sounds a little bit funny. I don't understand. Just trust me, stay with this account. I'm literally guaranteeing you'll understand over time completely. Now, all right, so I'm going to take, this right here is going to be an evidence video, which is going to turn into a series of videos. Now, these videos are going to be titled, because I gotta say things carefully for legal, strategic, and security purposes, is, with a question mark, this how they achieved the extreme torture between 2018 and 2024. So that's going to be the title of this video series, this being video one of that video series. Now, I'm telling my viewers, first-time viewers, and people who have been following me for a long period of time, please, I'm literally begging you to be patient. This crime is intentionally doing things on a daily basis, every single day, day in and day out, in order to achieve one or more motives. And one of those constant motives throughout it all is to do things to affect my schedule. So please just stay with this account. Please check it once every 4 days, once a week, but stay with it. Okay, now what I'm going to share with you in this video might seem a little bit peculiar to people who don't know anything about this crime, and it might even seem initially peculiar to people who have heard about gang stalking, and maybe even people who have seen some of my videos. Because what you're going to be introduced to is information that this is very high-end, very, in other words, the exposures in this video you can consider to be extremely high-end evidence. Okay, and you are going to witness some supporting documents that I hope will cause your brain to say, if this is true, this is the worst crime I've literally ever witnessed. And trust me, folks, in this day and age, that's a bold statement. So I'm going to go ahead and start into the subject matter of this video. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is make a very short statement. One, you need to immediately know, and it doesn't matter how, you got to remember, okay, it's going to take your while, I'm telling you right now, it's going to take a while for your brain to be able to connect all the information together. Okay, because one, you got to wait for the rest of the videos dedicated to this series. Two, you got to spend time to do research. Every time you do research, your brain stores information. As you continue to research, the brain will organize and connect the relevant information, any statement, any subject matter, any linked attachments in the descriptions. The brain will organize all the data. So by the time you get to the end of the video series, your jaw is going to drop, and you are never going to see this country in the same way again that you see it now. Ever. So buckle up your seatbelt, folks, because here we go. So, now that statement is made, I want you to know that through my extensive, exhaustive research into this crime, since the day I discovered it by its name online on June 9, 2009, I have seen numerous posts on the internet through all online platforms, pretty much. Facebook, Twitter. I personally have never used Facebook, but I've seen some Facebook posts. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Periscope, even a few Instagram posts, and much blogs and much more, showing targeted individuals, which is a term that describes gang stalking victims. Targeted individuals. I have seen massive amounts of targeted individuals over the years openly include within their exposures the movie that is called The Minority Report. Now, you might think to yourself, okay, how could this have anything to do with gang stalking? What's the point she's trying to, what is the point she's trying to make? You got to be a little bit patient with me. Just a little bit patient with me. You'll see it before the end of this 33-minute and 10-second video. Okay? Absolutely. Now, when you watch the movie The Minority Report, which is a movie with Tom Cruise, and it's a futuristic movie, but it's not a bad movie at all. It's actually a pretty good entertainment movie. So when you watch the movie, you might have to pay $2.99 or $3.99 through YouTube and or Amazon Prime Videos, or however, you might even be able to watch it for free on some certain types of movie apps. Okay? So what is so special about The Minority Report? And why would hundreds of different targeted individuals, by the way, at least 99% of them have never talked to each other or seen each other's post, yet they have been brought to a level in their targeting experience to know that that movie is relevant. Think about what I'm saying. Let's say if you put 100 people in one program, but yet each one of these 100 people are in a separate room, which would completely prevent them from having any form of communication with the other 99. Yet, after a year, they're all released. They get online, and then over time, okay, while they still don't know the other 99 exist, share in their exposures the movie The Minority Report. So, folks, when you hear what I'm going to be saying here in this video series, you're going to understand this completely. So, in the movie The Minority Report, Tom Cruise plays a police officer who he's actually a police chief, and he is in charge of a certain department called pre-crime. Now, when you watch the movie, you'll understand all this, because I don't want to get into all the details of how the following is achieved. Okay, so basically, Tom Cruise, he receives data from two girls, and what they are is it's visual data. Now, these visual data streams that are given to him in bits, he brings up on a holographic screen. And you'll understand this all. Just watch the movie. You'll totally understand this. Absolutely. So, he brings up these separate video streams in let's just say a apparatus or a hologram screen that allows him to watch each little small video. And the reason why he's doing this is because he's trying to see if he can retain enough information from each video in order to allow him to know where a murder is going to take place at in the future. So him and his team can go and stop it before it occurs. This is called pre-crime. Okay? He's in charge of the pre-crime police department, which means it's predictive programming about a crime that's going to occur but hasn't occurred yet. He sees the visual imagery. He's able to ascertain information from the visual imagery, which then tells him who's going to commit the murder and where it's going to occur at, and then he goes there and stops it before it occurs. So the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is because, for one, there is a lot of predictive programming in the crime of gang stalking, which is massively, it's reported to be massively, the achievement of it is massively assisted by and through remote neural monitoring. Okay, its functions, features, and capabilities, as well as other types of non-consensual, invasive biomedical implantations that can occur, that can allow these demonic bastards to decode neurological processes, subvocal speech signals, and much more. Now, I know this sounds crazy, folks. Do not walk away. Absolutely, because, again, when you see this video series, your jaw is going to friggin' drop. Trust me, stay with this video series, literally. Okay? So, Tom Cruise is able to, again, retract enough information from the visual imagery. He's able to then go stop a crime right before it occurs, preventing the crime from occurring. So, why could that be important in gang stalking crimes? Because when you watch the movie, you're going to see how he rotates these visual data streams, which are sent to him in packs. So you can have like 5 packs, PAKS, 5 packs of video streams. These are separate packs. So you take one pack and you put them next to another pack, and so on and so on, and then you try to make sense of the visual imagery. And you'll see Tom Cruise rotating them so he can try and put them in sequential order, so he can get an idea about the full video stream. Now, why is that important in gang stalking crimes? Well, folks, remember, this is the introductory video to the video series that's going to be titled in the way that I described at the beginning of this video. Always remember that, because what I just described to you concerning the movie The Minority Report is going to play a big role, okay? The information you gather from watching that movie, and I suggest you even watch it twice, okay, as you follow along this video series and the account itself. When you go back and watch it a second time, see, when you hear something, then you start to research on it. Then you watch the movie. Then you continue to research, okay? And then you continue to research. Then you come back and you watch your movie. That's refreshing your memory, and the data gets cohesively connected together in the brain. Absolutely. So many of the things that you're going to see from this aspect of this movie is going to help you understand the overall subject matter of this entire video series. And what do you hear, folks? You're going to hear about some of the most extreme, brutal, sadistic torture a human being can ever experience before death. Okay? Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to make this additional statement because this additional statement directly ties in with the title of this video series. And this additional statement is, they have developed technology that allows them to walk you and talk you deliberately to your death. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. I'm going to give you a tidbit of some very important information that's going to be massively expanded upon within this video series, probably video 1 through 3. Okay? Now, this following statement is, when we think about what we do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a very short metaphorical story. It's going to be very short, probably less than 5 minutes. That's going to help you see when you listen to my statements, and then I start building on it. You're going to see why this story is being made. Okay, all this information fits together. Okay, so let's say you got a couple who's in an abusive relationship. Okay. And in this case, it happens to be the woman who's being abused, okay? So, because men can be abused too, but just for the sake of the story, let's say it's the woman who's being abused. Now, this person, this intimate partner that's abusing her, domestic violence, and it's extremely severe too, has isolated her from family. She has no friends. She has no job. She has no car. She has no credit cards. She barely has any money. Okay, and she has no telephone. So she has nowhere to run to for help, and she has no way to sustain herself independently if she ran from the house. The abusive partner engineered all this because he always knew that he was going to continue the abuse to enslave her. And believe it or not, folks, there are sick, disgusting men out there that are exactly like this. Absolutely. Total psychopaths. So consider this. Now, so she's starting to think to herself, when he goes to work between 9 and 5, Monday through Saturday, she's going to start seeing if she can find a place that she can go to in order to set it up for future use. Like, she might go to a neighborhood wooded area. She might also go to a neighborhood park that would allow her to go there to review the landscape. So as she goes to first the nearby wooded area, let's just say it's within 3 miles of the house she lives in. She goes to this nearby neighborhood, wooded area in the neighborhood within 3 miles of her house, and she looks at it. She looks at the roads that are directly next to it. She looks at bus routes to get to it. She looks at where the surrounding buildings are, so if she starts utilizing it, she can stay out of sight. Okay, she starts looking at the landscape concerning the foliage. How well would it protect her from being seen from neighboring houses or buildings or whatever? She starts to look at how the foliage is set up to where she could make something to sleep in. And we're talking about more than just one spot in this particular wooded area. We're talking about at least 5. Okay? Now, she does this for a month. At least 3 times a week. She goes there, she takes a notebook with her, she writes all these different variables down, and she hides it from the abusive spouse. And then 3 times a week she goes there, okay? And she usually gets back by 1 p.m. He gets off work at 5, so she gets back by 1 p.m. so she can have dinner and everything ready for the animal that's doing this to her. And then after she sets up, so every time she goes there 3 times a week, she has figured out the landscape. She's got the other variables taken care of and written down. So what she'll do then is that she'll take her saw with her so that she can start cutting down branches to build like a lean-to shelter. She'll go down in the basement and take an old tarp out that she knows her husband hasn't seen in years. She'll take bottles of water with her so she can leave them there. Cans of food, maybe 2-3 cans a week if he's not watching the food, okay? And she's taking all these resources there so when she flees, she can go there and sustain herself long enough until she can get some type of community help, okay? Now she does the same thing at a park that's 4 miles away in the opposite direction, okay? Now you might think to yourself, how's she getting to the wooded area? How's she getting to the park? Well, let's just say she's got a bike, or let's just say she was lucky enough to create a acquaintance level friendship with a neighbor around the block. Okay, so enables her to get back and forth. Now, let me tell you something right now, and I don't know what you're gonna think concerning this following statement. But if you're ever in this type of situation, and you had no money or nobody to help you with money or assets, I'm just gonna say, what's more important? You stealing a bike if you're able to safely, okay, or staying in a house that will end up killing you, literally killing you. Okay. Sometimes good people have to break minor crimes in order to survive. Absolutely. So let's say she went to the wooded area that's 3 miles away from her house. Let's say she went back and forth to it 24 times. Okay, 3 times a week, 24 times. Then the park she went to, that's 4 miles away from her house in the opposite direction. Okay, she went to, let's say, 18 times. Now, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Okay. When this crime makes its victims homeless, before it does it, it has already surmised through careful long-term surveillance that you're not going to have anybody to turn to. And it can also be sabotaging relationships years before you become an open gang stalking target. Absolutely. Through many different ways. Now, just trust me, folks. You stay with this account long enough, you're going to learn a hell of a lot. Just trust me. Okay? You know, when I make a statement and you don't have any details around that statement yet, you're always going to have that lingering hole in your understanding. That's totally normal. But if I got into in-depth details about every statement I make, then I can never get to or even complete the current subject matter. So stay with the account. Okay, so she went to the first place 24 times. Okay? Now, each time she went there, let's say the first 4 times she went there, she did all the additional variables, looking for the houses that were close to it. Okay, and then looking at areas to where she could pick where the foliage would keep her from being seen, approaching the areas she'd pick, and the way in and out to it. Okay? Now, so she did that the first 4 visits concerning one part of the area. Okay? Then the next 4 visits, she created the sticks and stuff she needed, which is why she took the saw, the sticks to make the lean-to. She took the tarp with her too. Then the next 4 visits, she did the same exact identical thing at another area in that spot. Okay? And then the next 4, and then so on and so on. Okay? So 5 visits, 4 things done each time. I'm sorry. So each time she went there, 4 times, she did a set of things. Okay? So every time she was there, including on all dates, she also paid attention to the immediate surrounding area of each place she picked. 5 places she picked, and spent 4 days on each place. Okay? Now, each time she visited each place, okay, she also surveilled the surrounding area, which meant that she's seen a lot of foliage. She's seen a lot of additional landscape concerning its constructs. Like, okay, there's a big tree over here, and right next to it is a big gigantic bush, and the ground is flat, so I can lay on the ground. Okay, so the reason why this is important is because out of all these different 5 spots, she ended up seeing probably at least 75 different areas within these 5 spots. So, because you got just a spot, but then you got all the massive surroundings around it within at least a 150 feet walking distance. So you're seeing 70 different spots concerning each 5 spots. 70 different areas that she's surveilling the whole area. Now, why is this important? Now, all human beings, but we'll talk about human beings that are 18 years and older, have what is known as visual memories. Everything we see becomes a visual memory. Every single thing we see becomes a visual memory. Okay? So, let's say if you were living in a house that was not too far away from a river, and the river wasn't really prone to flooding when it came to average rainfall per year, but it has been known to at least somewhat flood when heavier rainfalls occur. Well, let's say you live in a house where like that, but yet a 1 in 50 year storm is coming in, and you think to yourself, okay, there hasn't been a storm, this predicted storm, nothing like this has been seen for 50 years, so we better go, and we better no, in fact, let's actually backtrack on this for a second. Let's say you're living in an area that is prone to flooding, okay, where you live, and you can't get out of it. You can't sell the house, and other circumstances doesn't allow you to move. So you're living in an area that's prone to flooding, okay? So so over the years, you've experienced flooding at least once a year, okay? So let's say some of these floodings have been so bad to where you had to move out of the house for a little while. Hold on. And trust me, folks, people have lived through this type of stuff, okay? So let's say you live in a flood, an area that's well known to flood, and possibly even twice a year you might have to move out of the house because of flooding. And so you think to yourself, okay, can't afford to move, and other variables and circumstances doesn't allow me to sell the house and move, so I'm stuck here. So where can I then go when I'm forced to leave the house? Because when I'm forced to leave the house, I could be forced to stay away from the house for a month, okay? So where can I go if I don't have any family, friends, and my money is low? Well, that person is then going to more than likely go to wooded areas to avoid spending money on motels. Go to wooded areas and stay there until you can go back home. So each year that person has went and created places to go to at wooded areas, and they then, each time they went, they end up with visual memory references to each wooded area they went to. That way, when they found out on the news that rain season is going to be real bad this year, they started taking additional things back to those areas, so when they had to go, they would be totally prepared. Okay? Now, between both of those people, the woman who's being abused by her abusive partner, and the person who lives in an area that's known to flood, both of them have picked reasonable, healthy, responses to both of those different types of situations. But what's in common with both? What's in common with both is that when both of those individuals went to those wooded areas on all dates, they ended up surveying the area so that each place they pick within each area would afford them the ability to survive And flat ground, by the way, is one of the main important ingredients of this. And you'll understand that as you continue to hear this video series. Trust me, folks, this is going to blow your mind once you start seeing it unfold. Your mind's going to be blown. Oh, absolutely. Now, why am I telling you all this? Well, because you needed these types of visual references in your mind. So when you hear me unpack the story, okay, you're going to be able to correlate it to it. Okay? I would suggest that you even go into a neighborhood park and go and just walk back into the wood part of the park and take a good look around. And then when you see the video series get unpacked and the information in it, you can then have those visual memory references of you going into the woods. Trust me, it'll integrate your thinking a lot better relative to the information that's related to this subject matter. Make no mistake about it, folks. So, okay, so how does these two separate people, the abused spouse and the person living in the flood zone, how can that information relate to what was discussed initially concerning the Minority Report? What did Tom Cruise do? He took separate video streams and watched each one and even rotated them at times in order to come up with some type of sequential visual understanding about where a crime was going to take place at and who was going to commit the crime. Now, in gang-stalking crimes, the perpetrators don't allow you to see them concerning who's hosting it and who's remotely interfacing with you. Now, that you'll understand as you continue to hear me talk. And that, trust me, when you hear that, you're definitely going to say, I'm totally glad I stayed with this video series. Trust me. Now, all right. So, now, what do we do? What do we do when we have a thought? Well, it all depends on what type of thought we have. So, let me give you two fast examples here. Two points I want to make to you. I'm going to present to you two word symbols. Dog. When you hear the word dog, that's got a pictorial attachment to it. When you hear the word litter, L-I-T-E-R, like people throwing things on the ground, litter also has a pictorial attachment to it. When you hear about a can of soda, that's got a pictorial. A can of Pepsi, that's got a pictorial image to it. Now, the reason why this is important is because all human beings, at least by the time they're the age of 18, even though you can definitely start experiencing this before 18, have what is known as our visual memories play a role in our in real-time thought processes. Okay? So I'm going to give you just a fast example of that. Hold on one second. Let the spider jet go by. So those are called word pictures. Words that have pictures attached to them. Okay? Now, let's say, so I'm going to give you a very fast analogy so you can understand this. All these analogies, remember, this is the introduction video of the video series that the title was mentioned about at the beginning of this video. All the videos dedicated to this series will be titled with the title I gave to it at the beginning of this video. So, alright, so what I'm going to do now is give you another very fast, this is going to be a shorter analogy, but you'll get the point. Because you're going to see how all these analogies fit into the entire subject matter of this video series. That's why this is the introductory video. Okay? So this analogy is this. Let's say that your name is Joe and you're married. And Joe usually does the shopping. Hold on a second. Let's say the wife does the main shopping, but Joe does the daily shopping, like when you got to stop up at the grocery store to get extra items or something that you might impulsively want, whatever. So Joe's got a lot of experience in doing shopping himself. So Joe's wife comes up to Joe at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and she says, "Hey Joe, what do you want for dinner?" And he says, "Honey, I don't know yet. Give me a few minutes and think about it." So Joe sits back and he says to himself, "What am I in the mood for?" Okay? And what most people don't know is that your limbic system of your brain is directly connected to your appetite. Your limbic system has to do, part of its features and functions has to do with cravings for food and anything else, pretty much. Okay? Now, our cravings will stimulate our appetite. Okay? Even if we're already generally hungry, it can still stimulate our appetite concerning a particular food. Oh, absolutely. And trust me when I say I have seen many gang stalking targets over the years openly state that these perpetrators who are involved in this crime will advertise big, gigantic, juicy steaks, okay? Because the business industry is massively involved in this crime, okay? So just trust me, folks. I'm not going to go into any explanation concerning how they can do this, but trust me, it is absolutely being done. So gang stalking victims have absolutely reported over the years that through many different means, they're being intentionally shown advertisement of delicious food. Okay? Trust me. Just trust me. Okay? If I remember to, and I think it's important enough, I'll maybe make a 5 or 10 minute statement about how that can be achieved later on in this video series or in another video. But just trust me, folks, it's occurring. Okay, oh, absolutely. There's so many things occurring in this crime that would blow your mind. Okay, so here's this analogy. So Joe says, okay, what do I want to eat? And Joe initially, like the rest of us, usually think of our favorite foods. So Joe will sit back and he'll think, I want some tacos. Okay, I'm really in the mood for tacos and burritos. Okay, so what he'll do is, while he's thinking about tacos and burritos, very vague, flashing visual imagery of tacos and burritos are flashing into his visual cortex. Okay? Then he starts thinking to himself, well, do I got enough hamburger or steak? Do I got enough cheese? Do I got flour tortillas in the house? Or taco corn shells? Do I got taco sauce? And so then, now every time he asks himself, do I got the cheese, the flour tortillas, the hamburger, the taco sauce, the lettuce, the tomatoes, which is what he likes to put on his tacos, and he asks himself each of these things, his brain is going to instantly go to his memory Rolodex, his visual memory Rolodex, and his brain is going to spit back to him what he saw the last time he put these items away. When he put the taco sauce jar away, when he put the lettuce away, when he put the cheese away last time, when he put the tortillas away last time. We all do this. Your mom asks you, Mike, is there any milk left? Mike says, there's only a little bit left. That's because Mike is usually the one who drinks the milk. Okay? And mom's the one who goes and does the shopping. So Mike says, okay, there's only a little bit left because he was the last one that put that milk container in the refrigerator, so he knows how much is left. Because his visual memory is rotating back to him the visual imagery of what he saw of that milk carton when he put it back. Okay? And that's what Joe's brain is doing concerning each one of these taco items. Lettuce, cheese, taco sauce, okay, flour tortillas. So he's thinking he wants tacos, and then his brain is saying, do I got enough of these items here right now to make tacos? Okay? And so he thinks of lettuce. How much lettuce do I got? And his visual memory of how much lettuce he saw in the refrigerator comes back to mind. Same thing concerning the other items. Now, why is this important? Because Joe thinks to himself with language, I want tacos. But as he's processing that, he's also processing, do I have enough of this, with language, internal language, while the pictorial imagery of these items is being rotated back to his mind per verbal description. Do I have enough lettuce? Here comes the lettuce visual imagery coming back to his mind. Do I have enough cheese? Here comes the cheese coming back to his mind. Do I have enough flour tortillas? Here comes the flour tortilla imagery coming back to his mind. So the reason why I'm stating all this is because when we have an internal verbal thought, do I have enough cheese? Pictorial imagery plays a role in that thought from our visual memory. So this is then what you call a pictorial thought sequence, which means your left brain, which is language, is working with your right brain, which is pictorial imagery, is working together in sync. Okay? Now, you'll understand why all this is important as I continue to talk. Now, All these four analogies are part of the main part of this introductory video. Okay, concerning the subject matter of this entire video series. This introductory video is going to be pasted in the descriptions of each video dedicated to this video series. And again, each video of the video series will have the same title, video 1. This is video 1. So the next video will have a number 2 at the end of it. The third video, number 3 at the end of it, and so on, all with the same title. I'm letting you know that now, so you can know when I make them, because I'm definitely going to make sure that this video series is titled, okay? Oh, absolutely. Now, so, anything else I say in this video, you need to know that the main ingredients for you to understand about this introductory videos was these 4 separate analogies, because you're going to see how all 4 intertwine their analogies, how all 4 intertwine with all the information discussed in the entire rest of the video series. So I'm going to go ahead and make some initial statements, and if I get cut off while I'm in the middle of talking because a separate video file has started, that's just the way the memory card works. So if I get cut off, and you might think to yourself, what the hell was she saying there? But I couldn't figure it out because I got cut off. That's why I got cut off. Because the memory card will instantly, by itself, switch to a second video. So just wait for the next video. And what I'll do at the beginning of that video is pick up exactly where I left off at the tail end of this one. And that applies for all of the videos dedicated to this video series. Okay? Now, so, check it out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make some additional statements. And as long as I don't get cut off, because usually I get a dialog box that appears on the phone when a separate video is a separate second video, additional video is started, a separate video is started. Okay, so any statement that I make here is well, I'm going to talk to you right now about the computer to brain link, and the computer to brain feedback loop. Okay. And always be patient, because it will probably take me a little bit of time to go back in each video and attach to very relevant scientific articles and other massive, very extremely credible other links and attachments that's going to back up what's stated either for that video or for the entire video series. Trust me. Be patient. Patience pays off, folks. Absolutely. Okay, so what is the computer to brain link? What is the computer to brain feedback loop? What is remote neural monitoring? What is nanotech, pre-programmed nanotech put in the brain? Okay, that can act as neurodisruptors. What is memory blanking with remote neural monitoring, as well as what is electronic dissolution of memory? Okay, now there's going to be one tweet link that's going to be extremely relevant for all the videos dedicated to this video series. At this time, I think there's about 12 tweets attached to it. So it's a tweet chain. Each tweet is connected to each other. Now, when you bring that up, you're going to have to do some research, but just trust me. Oh my God. I'm sorry I keep saying this. My brain just kind of wants to keep saying the same thing when I notice that this is another big chunk of information for you. So just everything you see, you're going to have to take the time to research it. The brain will organize the data, and then boom, it's like every video, every statement is a piece of the puzzle. Okay? So that one tweet link, you're going to know that's the right tweet link, because I'm going to literally put in the descriptions of all the videos, this is the main tweet link chain for you to pay attention to, and then everything else will be supporting material. Okay? Now I'm referring to the tweet chain that's got the leg implants, and I'm not talking about like an actual leg, and I'm not talking about prosthetic legs that you would see on individuals who have lost their limbs. I'm talking about other types of prosthetic legs, and you'll completely see it once I make the first or second video of this video series, and once you see the tweet chain. Oh, absolutely, your mind is going to be blown. Oh, absolutely. So, now, let me just briefly state a fast statement about the computer to brain link. The computer to brain link in gang stalking crimes can encompass more than one technology. In gang stalking crimes, you can assume, it's safe to assume, that at least in 98.999% of all victims who are being subject to what is known as the computer to brain link, you are dealing with remote neural monitoring, the criminal use of it, to the maximum extreme. Oh, absolutely. Hold on. Now, the computer-to-brain feedback loop can be where information can be taken from the brain, and all this will be expanded on in the upcoming videos. All of it will. Okay? The computer-brain feedback loop can be where they can take data from the brain, including speech, and rotate it back to you. Okay? So I'll expand on the computer-to-brain link and the computer-to-brain feedback loop. I'll start to expand on it in this video, and if I get cut off, I'll continue to expand on it in the second one. And then the other statements I made after I mentioned those first two a few minutes ago will also then be expanded upon. So you want to take notes, absolutely, because I want to make a very good organized video series, because this video series will be for lawyers, absolutely. So let's go back for right now. We're going to skip the this computer-to-brain link in the computer-to-brain feedback loop is actually, can be absolutely, and usually is, at least 99% of the time, intimately connected together. In fact, I would say 99.9% of the time, it's intimately connected together. Because in order for any individual to remotely encode information to the brain and decode information from it, is to have a computer-to-brain link. So now, when I talk about the computer-brain feedback loop, you are also understanding that it's being done as a result of the brain being linked to a computer. And remote neuromonitoring is one of the biggest technologies, one of the main technologies used for this, even though, and it's got many features and functions, but even though, it can also communicate with, it can also at least monitor, and more than likely, at least massively, at least generally, okay, at least 95% of the time, can also has the capacity to read data that is being gleaned from any non-consensual biomedical implants that can be put in the brain and other parts of the body. Just trust me again, just stay tuned. So let's say now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the second analogy. The second analogy and the third analogy and the fourth analogy is intimately connected to the visual imagery you'll get from the movie The Minority Report, about him taking separate video streams and trying to connect them, get enough data from each one, and even trying to connect them together so he can understand any part that has sequences to them, so he can learn the sequence of events so he can go stop a crime. All the analogies directly relate to the visual type of imagery that you'll see him doing in the Minority Report when he is getting the visual data from the two girls and rotating it around and trying to decipher information from it. So consider this. What do we do? What do you think? So let's go back to the first analogy. Let's go to the woman who's being abused. So let's say the husband comes home on Monday, June 1st, and he beats the hell out of her. And so he then eats and goes to bed, gets up and goes to work the next day, and she says, I'm out of here. She says, I'm out of here. So let's say she's got about $50 saved, taking pennies, nickels, quarters, and an extra dollar here and there. She's got enough food to last for 2 weeks, canned goods and others. This situation has even reduced her to stealing small items from grocery stores. You got to do what you got to do to survive. If you are ever in that situation, your health and safety becomes before somebody losing an 89-cent can of peas at a grocery store. Okay, your health and safety comes first. Okay, at all times. At all times, folks. Okay, so he beats the hell out of her. He goes to sleep. He gets up the next day. He goes to work, and she immediately grabs her go bag, which is a bag that she created that's got a coat in it, socks, underwear, change of clothes, and so on. And she gets the hell out of there, and she walks 4 miles to this wooded area, grabbing additional water and other stuff on the way, taking it from the house and taking more fresh water with her, and she goes there. Okay? So let's say she goes there and she's there a week. And food is not low yet, but it's starting to get a little bit low. So throughout that week, she's also witnessed that the first area she picked seemed to have a little bit more traffic around it from some buildings in the area, whether they be houses or buildings or whatever, that seemed to be the traffic from these places seemed to be a little bit more than what she had originally deduced would be. So she says to herself, okay, I didn't expect this much traffic coming from these two houses. I didn't expect this much traffic coming from one office building. So then she says to herself, I don't want to be reported, because if I get reported, I'll get arrested, then I get thrown in jail, and I could be in jail, then I'll have a record, and then when I come back, and then when I get out, all my stuff could be confiscated as a result of being arrested there. Okay? So she says to herself, okay, where can I go from here? And so guess what she's going to do? She's going to do the same thing Joe did when Joe was thinking about, hey, do I got enough stuff for tacos? Her brain's going to immediately think about the visual imagery of the other places that she's got set up for that location. Which one, and her brain's going to compare the visual imagery. Is this one good enough? Is this one good enough? So I won't experience the same thing at this one that I experienced at that one. And by the way, you should know, I am personally aware of a gang-stalking victim who's been made homeless, who has done these identical types of things, concerned like things you do at a wooded area for future use, prepping it, prepping and stuff, taking stuff to it, hiding it, looking at the foliage to see if this foliage keeps you from being seen by nearby houses and stuff. I'm personally aware of a victim that had to go through this, and you know what the perpetrators would do? They would wait until the victim left, and they would literally come on the property and cut the foliage down. Now, there's actually probably two reasons for that. One, to make her paranoid about the surrounding houses, seeing her and reporting her. And you'll understand why that occurred as I continue in this video series. Trust me. In fact, I literally got audio files right now that shows the ex-NSA personnel, and others, by the way, openly stating that this crime will come by your house, like it will collude with your neighbors, and then your foliage, the foliage directly surrounding your house, all of a sudden will disappear. Now, is that because when they want to hit you with directed energy weapons from a drone at night, the foliage will not interfere with that laser hitting your head or any other part of your body? I was just listening to an audio file this morning talking about that. Literally. No exaggeration. Because what you got to understand about green foliage, folks, is that green foliage has what is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is an electrical chemical process that allows that foliage, the bushes, like the leaves and everything that you see in trees and bushes, it's what allows that foliage to stay alive. It's called photosynthesis. So it's basically absorbing the sun, and that's what charges the electrical chemical processes of the plant to stay alive. Photosynthesis. But since it's an electrical chemical process, that would interfere with the laser, and they fucking know it. And trust me, if I remember to, I'll include at least one statement about that, or at least give you a link that shows the people openly stating it in videos. They literally openly stated that, yeah, I was getting hit with directed energy weapons all of a sudden in my living room, and then I noticed a week later the city came down and chopped down a big tree that was between me and the neighbor's house when I sat in the living room. Okay? Trust me. You got to be patient for the attachments and the other materials. The brain will organize the data. Okay? So imagine you being a target who's been made homeless and going through the same exact thing that the woman's going through, where she picks these wooded areas that are secluded so she don't have to worry about, so she don't have to worry about anything. Because one thing you got to understand about gang-stalking crimes is that many of the motives of what they do has got also additional things that they got to do to keep that motive, so that motive being achieved is kept alive. So in other words, they got one motive, but they know that they got to do additional work to achieve it. Okay? Okay, like cutting down the bushes and shit. But they wait until you fucking leave, so you can't see them doing it. Okay? Oh, absolutely. Big time. This is no exaggeration, folks. So just, stay with me. Okay, so the woman says to herself, well, I use this first spot. It's comfortable here. He doesn't know where I'm at. But I also noticed that there's quite a bit more physical activity from neighbors than I had originally anticipated. So as a result of that, and her saying, I don't want to be reported, where else can I go on this general property? Now remember, she set up 5 places for one property. Okay? Right? And then she's got 4 places for the park, which is an additional Well, it's 4 miles away from the house she was being abused in the opposite direction of where she's at now. So that's 7 miles from where she's at now. Okay? So, okay. So as soon as she says, okay, I got to find another spot, but she knows that too many other variables don't allow her to go back to the one that's 7 miles away, because she's got to keep her storage of water, okay, kept up at that spot in case she's ever got to run to it on later dates and later months or whatever. That's the best thing to do if you ever got to run from any type of violent situation, is to always make sure that you got your water stash at that spot remaining at a constant. So every time you go out, get water, take it back. And even if you leave that area, still keep that area filled with water. Okay, and I would suggest you don't put it on the ground. You want to put it on a bunch of sticks. Put the water bottles in a black garbage bag. Place 5 sticks on the ground. Place the water bottles on the sticks, and then place the foliage, and then place a black garbage bag on top of that, and then place the foliage on it, because you don't want the water to get contaminated. All right? Oh, absolutely. So, anyways, so she says, I gotta move. Okay, so she goes to move, but she says to herself, I gotta move, and then her brain starts rotating back to her the visual imagery of what would be the best spot out of these remaining 4 spots for me to move to that will prevent me from experiencing what I experienced at this spot. The neighbors coming out a lot. Okay, the one office building that's active Monday through Friday. So her brain then rotates the visual imagery of the remaining 4 spots. And it picks one, she walks to it, utilizes it, and it's perfect. Okay? So let's go to the guy whose house floods twice a year. Okay? So he picks a spot, and he takes food and water and other additional clothing with him. Okay? And so he goes there, and then when he uses it, he starts to notice that, oh, well, it appears that there's some homeless people that are camping out in the adjacent wooded area. So he starts to feel uncomfortable. So he says to himself the same thing that the woman had to. Where else can I go? So his brain starts to visually reprocess the visual imagery of the other places that he set up. Okay? Because he doesn't want to be camping and staying at a place right by homeless people, because you never know what they might be involved in. They can be violent, they can be involved in social deviant behavior, they can steal your stuff if they ever become aware you're there. Okay, so then he moves. Now, he moves to a spot that his brain recirculated back to his mind, the visual imagery of that. So he's thinking to himself, okay, I gotta move. So then his brain starts relaying back to him the visual imagery of the other places that he picked and set up. And he's saying to himself, okay, what of these other places would be less likely for other homeless people to camp directly parallel to it? Okay? So the woman and him didn't take this variable. Okay, they didn't include that within their deliberations before they got set up. So they kind of got blindsided by that issue, but no big deal, because they got the other 4 or 5 to rely on. Okay? So each time, each one of those persons said to themselves, I gotta move from here, for various reasons. Each time they said that to themselves, they recognized that they had to then engage in the action of moving. So then their brain immediately started rotating back the visual imagery of the other places, and the brain is perceiving that processing of the visual imagery of these other places as part of a in real-time thought process of where am I going to move. Just like the tacos. Do I got enough cheese, lettuce, hamburger, flour, tortillas? So that's the way the brain operates. Okay? Now, everything I said to you in this video is going to be absolutely the main ingredients for what you're going to hear in this video series. You're going to hear a story about a woman being sadistically, barbarically tortured in ways that would make the average good person be so extremely pissed, it would want to make them get up and instantly riot. It would give them that instinct, that impulsive instinct to instantly get up and riot. Don't do it. But it would give them that feeling, just like when a good person hears about a child who's been sadistically abused. You want to, and you see the picture of the person who did it, like in handcuffs, you want to instantly get up and beat the hell out of them. Okay? That's how you're going to feel at the end of the day when you hear this entire description of what they did to this woman, a completely innocent woman. The system, San Diego government, the people who are controlling them and working in bed with them, SDPD, San Diego Park Rangers, absolutely, San Diego Sheriff's Department, more than likely as well. They played this situation really smart. They stayed low key, but I know they're involved in it, absolutely, at least to one degree or measure. But they were smart enough to stay out of my presence, at least, at least for now. Except for when I got illegally detained in November of 2014 after a staged event. Now, I know how all of this sounds, folks. It probably sounds, what the hell is this? This probably sounds like, what the hell is this woman talking about? Is she crazy? What the hell is really going on here? Your jaw's going to fucking drop when you hear it all. Your jaw is going to, you're going to understand why I said every single syllable that I've said in this video. Okay? You're going to witness something that is going to completely blow your fucking mind. So remember this word, the bi-robotization of a human being. Hold on one second. So I'm going to play you a little bit of an audio. Right now, you can consider this to be the end of video 1, concerning the foundational information needed for the information video series. Now, if this video continues without it segueing into another separate video file, anything you hear from this point on, you can consider that to still be part of this video. And if I'm cut off concerning the audio I'm going to play you, I'll finish playing it at the beginning of the second video. Excuse me. Okay. Now let me check my battery. Okay. So, let me just turn on this audio file for a second. Bear with me a second, I gotta find an audio file. This isn't gonna be long because when I was checking my battery level just now for the phone, I realized how late it was, and I gotta get up and rotate my solar panels. That's gotta come first today, folks. You definitely want to stay with this video. And here's a prediction real fast. If I get arrested for illegal lodging, trespassing, or encroachment on any property, including if RP in reverse is used, and that includes any other documentation made about me, or if the police come using any property owner on any other property, it's all staged from this literal second forward, 1:26 p.m., December 3rd, 2024. Hold on one second. Okay, so I want you to listen to this statement of this woman. Okay, so I'm going to rewind it back to... hold on.
Going and buying a shed. So I had not
39 seconds.
Machine gun to absolutely smithereens. Okay, it was so bad I cannot exist in my own flat because of the machine gunning with pulse energy projectiles. So I had to spend several days going and buying a shed, a metal shed, okay, and I had to assemble it in my own study, okay. And I'm suggesting this for two reasons. Number one, I want to show you how you might be able to protect yourself. This shed cost, I think, 300 euros, which is a lot, but it's not the earth, okay. It's as much as some measuring devices. And in the end, I managed to assemble it myself. I nearly took off a finger doing it when these big aluminium panels fell down, but I managed. And I briefly want to show you how you might be able to protect yourself if you have a room, just so that you can have a work area. Let me just go out and show you what it looks like. Let me rotate the camera and show you. This is where I work, guys. I sleep in there under my desk, okay? In that area. And that's the old shielding inside that you can see with reflectix and aluminium. On the outside is now a metal shed. Okay, like this. And the metal shed goes all around. There's the old, reflectix rolled up. And if you do that, you will have, because this is solid aluminium, and if you buy a shed that is kind of watertight and rainproof, you can, surround yourself with this. And I'll explain why this is so important when the cabling is long enough. Because one of the things I would like back to show you. I think the cable is not long enough. But through the open window,
San Diego, are you struggling with stubborn diet-resistant body fat?
so I'm able to show Catherine's screen by just using that little box function. I didn't need Google after all. But Millicent has frozen. Millicent, are you still here?
Yeah, okay, yeah. I wasn't still frozen. I had a cousin that passed away in California. This happened like in May.
I'm buying a shed, a metal shed, okay, and I had to assemble it in my own study, okay, and I'm suggesting this for two reasons. Number one, I want to show you how you might be able to protect yourself. The shed cost, I think, €300, which is a lot, but it's not the earth, okay, it's as much as some measuring devices, and in the end, I managed to assemble it myself. I nearly took off a finger doing it when these big aluminium panels fell down, but I managed, and I briefly want to show you how you might be able to protect yourself if you have a room, just so that you can have a work area. Let me just go out and show you what it looks like. Let me rotate the camera and show you. This is where I work, guys. I sleep in there under my desk, okay? In that area, and that's the old shielding inside that you can see with reflectix and aluminium. On the outside is now a metal shed, okay, like this. And the metal shed goes all around. There's the old, reflectix rolled up. And if you do that, you will have, because this is solid aluminium, and if you buy a shed that is kind of watertight and rainproof, you can, surround yourself with this. And I'll explain why this is so important and if the cabling is long enough. Because one of the things I would like to show you, I think the cable is not long enough, but through the open window, through the open window, you can see the high-rises opposite. And one of the high-rises has a directed energy mechanism, okay? So, first of all, everybody who's really hard assaulted, this is how you can build a shed, okay? And then I also like to say to all those men who have been asked several times by their wife to put up a garden shed and haven't managed to do it, well, guys, this is how you do it, motherfuckers. Okay, I did it by myself. It's not that hard. So, I want you all to understand that this is a serious war, and this is the kind of metal shielding that you need. Okay, and now let me explain to you why you need this. Okay, let me share my screen and show you where I live again. Here. So my house is here, and over here is a flat that looks straight onto my house. My study is this little window, and I'm being machine gunned through here. Now this video I put up where you can see me being shot in the face and aluminium actually moving, that shot was fired from this direction. And when I zoom in to this house, okay, I can show you, there seems to be something very, very odd, because there's a row of trees, a hedge of trees that obscures the view, okay, so this is this little green stuff. And then I discovered that even on Google Maps, behind the trees, let me rotate it, is a screen. Let me rotate it. And I'm explaining to you because you can do the same thing with your neighborhood. Maybe I can zoom in a bit more. Okay, here. You can see the green trees, and then behind it, this white thing is a screen. And it's almost like they hidden a screen so that you can see there's a gap in the screen, and then there's another screen behind the hedges here. So there's screen here, screen there, and then there's a gap, and then there's an outdoor little tent. So if you place a directed energy weapon, you can shoot through here, and you're protected against the back reflections. Do you see? So you shoot at a slight angle, and then you put a screen so that within your own flat, you are protected from the back reflections of your own house energy projection. projectiles. And this is the flat I suspect is assaulting me. There's no reason why anybody would have to have a white screen behind these trees. And I'm pointing this out because, I want you all to start looking at Google Maps, start realizing that Google is basically a weapons company, an arms manufacturer, and you can use the stuff that they put out there. This is military intelligence, really, these satellite images. Use them as evidence for your own court case to try to find out which of your neighbors are involved. But also know that if you're being machine gunned by pulse energy projectiles, by now they cranked it up so much, I actually need a metal shed just to be able to exist.
I would get one over here. I'd have to look into that.
Absolutely, but the one thing I wanted to say is that after I put this up, I had one night of rest, and then the next night they cranked up the power, and they have machine gunned me inside here. So in principle, they can shoot through the floor. There's several layers of metal under the floor, but it's not as tight as this one. But they managed to machine gun me even inside here. And this could be new waveforms I know nothing about. Everything they call scalar waves. I just think I've never met them. In physics, no idea. It could be anything. I have never ever seen anything like this in my life. I don't even know where to look. How to deduce it as a physicist what they're using. But when they don't go absolutely mental, you still have excellent protection from this metal shed, and you can hear the pulse energy projectile shots bouncing off from the metal.
And I think, as you just stated, Catherine, there are many different forms of technologies that are being used and directed against us, including pulse energy projectiles, just as that U.S. Navy document spells out, and also high microwave energy weapons from satellites, from drones, and from antennas, from the entire cell phone tower and antenna system. So for all of those, which is microwave pulses of energy, which I also pick up, with the reflectix shields that I have around me, I think that kind of shed would actually provide immense obstacle, to hold those basic pulses away. The other stuff, as you say, the scalar waves, which all of us have experienced even underneath layers of shielding, that is more of a mystery as to how one can protect oneself from.
And the one thing is, I really recommend it. So if you have trouble sleeping, I'm also really worried because several victims have gotten in touch with me, and I have experience of that, of drones being used at night. So when we fall asleep, they seem to be, and with they, I mean as always, the military and the intelligence agencies, they are flying drones over communities, and they are machine gunning people in their sleep to cause cancer and to cause other stuff. And this sort of stuff really helps. And then if you put an audio recorder, even if you're knocked out and you're not waking up, the audio recorder picks up the drumming of these shots against the metal, so you can collect evidence.
Okay, now folks, I'm going to let you go, but I'm going to tell you something right now. I forgot to include the term. Now, what you just heard from that audio is going to be massively expanded on in video 2 and or 3 of this video series. So I'm going to wrap this video up by openly stating that when I stated a few minutes ago, right before I started playing the audio, that when the woman decided to move to a second place, okay, within that first general area that she created 5 sets of places at, on that one property of 2, in the reprocessing of what the visual imagery of the other 4 places within that area, that her brain was deliberating which one should I go to of these other 4, and then the visual imagery coming back to her mind of what each of those 4 places look like, so she could compare them and then make a choice concerning which of the 4. You can consider that to be very relevant to what is going to be described in the overall subject matter related to the computer-to-brain feedback loop. And that's intimately connected to how you see the visual imagery being rotated that you'll see from the movie The Minority Report. Whenever we have to make a decision based on prior things we've seen and or heard, the brain is rotating imagery and information back to your brain in a circular way. like a loop, L-O-O-P, circular loop. It's looping back to you information your brain has already got, so you can take that information and make an informed choice. This is extremely, it's the crux, it's the foundation of this video series and its relation to the specific types of tortures and how they were able to achieve it through, the computer-brain feedback loop. Thank you for listening, and make sure you stay with this account because your fucking mind is going to be absolutely blown. Have a good day, everybody.